Okay, we are live. So, hello everybody. I'm Howard Mann, creator of Conscious Shifting, and welcome to Conscious Shifting. Before we get started, a quick warning and disclaimer. All conscious shifting and all known side effects will improve your physical, mental, and spiritual health while creating the ideal environment for spiritual awakening, helping you live the life of your dreams and influence the world in a positive way. So, if that's something that interests you, then become part of our tribe by following this page or subscribing on YouTube if that's where you're watching. And then join us here Wednesday nights, 6 p.m. California time for Conscious Shifting. There's so many of you out there that we simply cannot personally communicate with everyone. So the way we communicate and the best way to communicate with us is through our daily thought provoking posts or weekly live. If you have a question, it's likely that thousands of other people have the same question. So simply place your question in the comment box and we'll reply by answering your question from a spiritual perspective. This will benefit everyone who is a member of the tribe, whether watching live or on a replay. All right, let's see who we have in here so far. I see Tina and I see Kim and a bunch of others who haven't commented yet. That's fine. Everybody take a deep breath way down to the lower energy center, just below the belly button, and relax. And another big deep breath and relax. And one more time, big deep breath. And relax. All right. So, the question of the week. Sometimes I can't deal with what's going on in the world. What do you do when you can't cope anymore? I would start by what we just did, taking a few slow, deep breaths and relaxing. Settle into the relaxation. Let your tensions fade away. Feelings of not being able to cope mean that you're resisting reality. You cannot control others, so there's no use in trying. You will only exhaust your vital forces. The only thing that you really have control over is how you react. And your reaction contributes to what you project. The energy or vibe that you project onto the world will have more of an impact than what you realize. Instead of trying to control everything, you can accept that we all go through what we need to go through. And we do this in order to allow ourselves the opportunity to learn and then to allow the highest version of ourselves possible to emerge. This is spiritual awakening, shifting into higher consciousness, enlightenment. And this is precisely why we're here. However, understanding and forgiveness are necessary. People, they might like to do the right thing, but generally don't until the pain becomes worse than the perceived pain of the change. And so pain comes from experience of lower consciousness. It's the result. And then, therefore, pain is a great motivator for people to change. So just let it be. The energy you project will influence others more than anything else you can do. Simply live your life as the highest version of yourself possible, letting everything else go. My recommendation is that you spend your time working on self realization and in the company of those whom you resonate with. You already have within you everything you'll ever need. So I hope that helps. Actually, a great question. All right, let's see. I see Ray and Kathy have joined us, and Susan, welcome. And Richard. Hi, Richard. All right, so understanding projection. If you if you go out and you buy a new vehicle, you're likely going to notice a lot more of those type of vehicles on the road. And it's not because there's suddenly more of those vehicles on the road. You simply notice them because you're projecting. What's on your mind, you project. And that becomes the main point of interest. So unconsciously, your projection gets most of your attention. And we all project whatever's going on inside of us outward. But that's not all. How you react to people, events, and whatever's going on the outside world is also a projection of what's inside. So your reaction also comes from what's inside. Your reaction is also a projection. And you cannot project, this is the critical part of this. You cannot project something that you don't already have within you. Something to remember when you're watching what's going on in the world, or you're around other people, whatever. Whatever you notice, whatever there is that's going on, and however you react to it, are all based on what you have within yourself. And so your projection is one way to understand yourself. One way to enlightenment is to look at what you project and then work from that point inward. So you can, if you notice what's being projected, it can give you a clue as to what's in your subconscious that you may not even be aware of. But just being aware of what you're projecting, since that's coming from your subconscious, then if there's some negativity to that in any way, it gives you a real good idea of something that you need to work on, doesn't it? So let's discuss some ways to recognize this subconscious projecting. Make sure I don't have any questions yet. Nope. Okay. So energy is influenced by the energy that it's reacting with. And this is true on every level and with everything. For example, have you ever heard the expression, if you sleep with dogs, you'll wake up with fleas? You probably heard that, right? So let's say that you have a friend or a group of friends, and let's say that they have some bad habits. Maybe they gossip, they overdrink, abuse drugs, lie, cheat, steal, something along these lines. And perhaps, it's something much uh, less obvious. Maybe they just always seem to embrace a negative point of view, or there's something that really sets them off. Every time it comes up, a person, a place, a thing, doesn't really matter. The more time that you spend with these friends, the more likely that you're going to start taking on their characteristics. It's actually quite common. Your projection is a reflection of your thoughts. And so the more time that you spend with something, the more you accept it as normal. And then you start projecting and acting as if it was normal. You see that? And this is one way in which you become what you think. You may think about what you experience, but you are definitely going to experience what you think about. Another example would be, and I've seen this over and over and over. I couldn't tell you how many times. Let's say that your best friend is having relationship problems, and you spend a lot of time with this friend discussing their problems. Now you're probably just trying to help out your friend, but you might start to notice some of these same problems showing up in your relationship. Not because the problems actually exist. I mean, they weren't there before, right? But because you project them. Over time, you may manifest these problems into reality, actually create problems that weren't there. Because this is what's on your mind, and this is what's expanding from your mind out into reality. So it's important to be mindful which thoughts you engage. And awareness allows you to recognize negativity in yourself and in others. And through awareness, you can then avoid this projection of negativity. The world has plenty of it. And it's all feeding off of itself. And so somebody's got to step up and and start doing something different, or nothing's ever going to change. Hi, Aaron. Welcome. Exactly. What you think, you'll notice more often. If you focus on solutions, you'll find more solutions. Perfect. Perfect. That's exactly right. And yet, most of the world focuses on the problems. And so we have lots of problems. But Aaron's exactly right. If we were focusing on solutions, then we would find those solutions. So another thing is that people will mirror your projection. So, when you react to what you see in the mirror, you're reacting to yourself, right? I mean, you walk up to a mirror, you look at it, you're seeing your reflection, you're reacting to yourself. The reflection in the mirror is your projection. You're projecting it out and it's being reflected back by the mirror, right? And then you react to it. Now, you can look at somebody else and another person and see something that you don't like. And then, maybe to the point to where you start becoming irritated. It's something that you feel so strongly about that you feel compelled to put out some sort of negative energy towards it. Maybe just a little comment, or you roll your eyes. It could be something kind of subtle, but what it really boils down to is some kind of disgust or fear or anger, ridicule, even hatred. Just a more extreme level of these things. Now, at this point, a lot of people want to break the mirror because they don't like the reflection, right? But the thing is, when you react negatively to someone, you're actually reacting to that which is in you. It really has very little to do with them. It's true. I mean, a negative reaction to someone else is a recognition of negativity in you. And this is another good indicator of unhealed wounds that you need to work on. And the thing is, the same thing could happen. The same person could do the same thing and you could just blow it off. But the fact that you're triggered means that you have something inside of you, some wound, and that whatever they said or did just reminded you of that. And so all of those negative emotions, that negative energy comes boiling up and you project it out onto that person. Oh, he's such a whatever, right? But that's not really what the truth in the situation is. They are what they are. They've done what they've done. But how you're reacting doesn't define them, it defines you. So again, we can use this projection as a way to see into our subconscious things that we may not be aware of, and in that you have the opportunity to do something about it. Susan says, when life is steep, keep your mind even. Exactly. Exactly. To the mind that's still, the entire universe is at their command. So there's many ways to manifest what you hold inside, and acting out is one way. And negative comments or looks, are still acting out. Um, More mild forms than running up and punching somebody in the nose, but they're still acting out. But the thing is that what you're really doing is instead of dealing with yourself, which is where the problem is, and doing what you can, which is working on yourself, you're blaming others. You can the thing is you'll still take it personal because it is. But the reason that you take it personal is that in some way you're reacting to what's within you. That's why we take things personally, because they are. We might act like it's that other person, but if we're reacting, then we're taking it personally. And the only reason we would do that is if it is actually, people say, "Oh, don't take it personally." Well, if That's easier said than done, because if something happened in your past and you were traumatized by it and you're holding resentments in some way, and that reminds you of it, all that comes boiling up. It's true, don't take it personal what they're doing, but it is personal because it's reminding you of something within yourself. So it might be that you have the same quality. It could be that you want the same quality. Perhaps you fear it. There's a lot of reasons why you would be triggered by it, but it's something within you, and that's what's reminding you of it. It's not the problem. It's just reminding you of the problem that you have within. Hi, Cheryl. How you doing? Love, laugh, and be happy in the house. So somehow it's bringing up an old wound. And again, if it wasn't within you, you wouldn't be projecting it out, and then you wouldn't be reacting negatively to it. You could be seeing exactly the same thing, but reacting to it in a completely different way. Just like, oh wow, I wonder what's troubling them. You know, see the difference? Same thing, but just a totally different reaction. Reality is what it is. People and events are what they are, but your reaction to them doesn't define them. It defines you. Your reaction uncovers what you have inside. Believe it or not, you can actually appreciate, be grateful for the people who irritate you because they're giving you the opportunity to heal. Just a different way of looking at it. Hi, Tina. How you doing? Awesome. Thank you. So the other thing about projection, we can project and then we can react to what we're projecting, but we also will attract. And what I said about energy interacting with energy. So what you're projecting is the vibe that you're putting out. That's going to resonate with certain things and attract certain things into your life. But they're going to be of a similar level of consciousness. So you attract people and events into your life, but it's not really about them. It's about you. They're only supporting the lessons that you need to learn. They're in effect your teachers. This is a mind-blowing perspective, and it's not the way most people look at it. And there's plenty of people that would argue with all of this, but then that's the point. They're being triggered by the conversation. It is a mind-blowing perspective. But the thing is that it works. And something else, it's despite how anybody feels about this, you're going to continue to attract people who bring these lessons to you until you learn the lessons. It could be over your entire life. It could be over many incarnations. It may be different people and different events, but the lessons are going to be the same. They're going to keep showing up because they're a projection of your level of consciousness. So, and they're going to continue. What we project, our life experience is based on the level of consciousness that we hold. So, until we rise in consciousness, nothing around us is going to change. These people talking about all this. Oh, I'm going to, transcend into the fifth dimension or whatever. Well, when you're at that level of consciousness, but you're not going to at this level of consciousness, and that's backwards. You can't force this stuff or just will it or wish it to happen. What's going on out there is a projection of what's going on in here. So in here, when you rise in consciousness, then your projection and what you attract is going to be based on that level of consciousness. So as your consciousness rises, so will your projection, so will your attraction. There's this energetic field around you that corresponds to your level of consciousness, and it's what's really doing all of this. Energy interacting with energy. So you'll continue to attract these lessons until your energy field changes. And your energy field is the attraction energy. So again, Your energy field changes when you rise in consciousness. It's an expanded awareness or a lesson learned, enlightenment unfolding. A lot of ways to look at it. So then from this perspective, the question is not why are all of these people acting this way, or why does this keep happening to me? The question becomes, why do I keep attracting these people and events into my life? What is it about me that needs to change? And there is the opportunity to learn and to grow and to rise into something better. Until then, you're just trapped where you are, and yet that's the way most people roll, don't they? Oh, look at all this going on. How can this be happening? Well, it's happening because, talking about the world, we're collectively creating it. We're collectively projecting everything that's going on in the world. And so it's a real good window into our subconscious. As hard as that is to own, it's true. There's no other way to put it. Sugarcoating is not going to get the job done. Hi, Sue. Sue's University of Life in the house. And then there's, we were talking a little bit about the subconscious. So there's projection and then unconscious negative behavior. You might be unaware of negative behavior that you're projecting. If you're doing it subconsciously, chances are you have very little, if any, awareness of it. So in other words, you may be subconsciously acting out negatively. And it's quite possible that you're only vaguely aware of your subconscious actions at all, or if at all, even though you're doing them. You're saying the words, you're doing the acts, and with a very limited, if any, real level of awareness. So it's common to act on these subconscious programs without realizing what you're doing. And that explains a lot in the world, doesn't it? Acting out negatively would indicate a subconscious program that's inappropriate for your life. And there's likely far more of these than you would care to admit, that anybody would care to admit. You can only be completely conscious of one thing at a time. Therefore, it's helpful for others to mirror back to you what you're projecting, because that's another tool that you can use for developing awareness. That's why I said, another way to look at it is just be grateful, because, even though what they did was rotten to the core or whatever, it's still, an opportunity for you to learn and to do something about a wound that you have. And that's all you really need to focus on is learning your lessons, rising in consciousness. You can't do it for somebody else. And once you do, then you'll stop attracting these lessons, and you're basically letting all these people off the hook, because they're having to play a role for you. It might all be subconscious, but your energy is attracting their energy. And so, there's something similar on an emotional level or on a level of consciousness. And so there's this attraction. And once you rise, then you're releasing them at least from playing that role for you. Now, until they rise, they're probably going to continue to play that role for other people, but at least you've let them off the hook. So if they're playing it for 1,000 people, now they only have to play it for 999. So you, in a sense, helped with their spiritual evolution, because you rose in consciousness, because you became more spiritually aware. And Sue's saying, I understand that. Watch that happen. I see it and can change it. Yep, that's it. Kim says, I've lived a lot of years like that, just doing what I had to. Yep. Autopilot. We all do it. We're conditioned to do it. It's what the world teaches us to do, celebrates it actually. Because, well, I don't want to go down that path too far, but what would it be like for people that want to control everything if you were conscious in every moment, actually thinking for yourself, rather than listening to whoever, whatever powers it be, the news, whatever, and doing what they say and thinking what they tell you to think? What would it be like if everybody actually thought for themselves, even better still, what would it be like if everybody was thinking for themselves and instead of looking to the world for spiritual answers, which that's all we're all in search of, who we are, sense of belonging, the truth, in search of God in essence. It's all any of this is. So why not just go straight to the divine? Why not just ask for divine guidance and then act accordingly? But that would never do for the ego or the powers that be in the world. They would totally lose control. And so fear and these kinds of things are tools that they use to keep you in compliance. And they may even be doing it unconsciously, but because they've been conditioned to that. You know, it might not be like they have this evil plan. It's just it's just the way they are because of their emotional damage. But the worst thing that could happen is that people would start thinking for themselves, right? It's hard to control people that think for themselves. Hi, Christina. How you doing? So a lot of this stuff really, when you get right down to it, it boils down to not just projection, but projection of pain, unhealed emotional wounds that are bottled up pain from the past, pain that really needs to be properly released, but because it's bottled up and suppressed, then it's it comes up and is projected, and this pain reaps havoc on your life and on the world. And it's a projection of this type that underlies most of your inappropriate or negative behavior, and so it is with everyone else. Strangely enough, these can be your wounds, or they might even be wounds that you've inherited from somebody else. Without knowing it, you've bought into this mass psychosis. And because so many people in the world act as if it's the norm, you, by thinking for yourself, become an outcast. In an insane world, only the insane will appear to be sane. If somebody's actually sane in an insane world, then they're going to be looked at like they're insane because they're different. And they're definitely in the minority, at least at this point in time in human evolution. Ask Jesus about that one. So these wounds, they manifest in all kinds of different ways. Sometimes it's people kind of just move inward and kind of contract from life. They don't participate. And then there's the opposite where there's this lashing out. And then there's kind of some of the in between where maybe in some ways people are more withdrawn, and in other ways they lash out. But depending on which it is and how they understand or don't understand the wounding, it's this either pulling back or moving outward. There's no balance either way, is what I'm trying to say. So when you negatively react to someone or something, it can highlight some unreleased negative energy, some toxic energy that you're holding on to. And that toxic energy is reaping havoc on your life and on your health, mentally and physically. Then you project it out into the world, and that vibe, you know, can mess with other people, especially people that themselves have wounds where some of that resonates. And so then you have these groups of people that they're all confirming each other's damage as proof of reality, and it's all a lie. It's just psychosis. That's what it is. It's not grounded in anything real. So, one thing you can do is when you when you have these things that rise up like that, and you're about ready to spurt something out negative about somebody, just ask yourself a question. What other people and events from the past remind you of that? Go back as far as you can and try to identify people or events that made you feel the same way. Bingo. That's where it's rooted. It really doesn't have much to do with what's happening right now. And so that is a lesson that you failed to learn. Now that's a huge topic. I could do multiple lives on interpreting exactly what that means. But at least if you understand that that's where it's coming from, then you can look at that situation and say, well, what was it that I failed to learn there? Or what was it that the misinformation that I absorbed and believed is reality? It could be something simple like you're a little kid and your parents are all stressed out. They're having trouble paying the bills, and you know how life is. There's 8 million things going on, and you come in with something that you drew, and you hold it up and you're all excited. You think it's this great piece of art. It was a gift for them, and they just kind of shut you down. Go away, don't bother me right now, or that kind of thing. And to a little kid, they because they haven't lived and they haven't developed the skills to discern what's really happening around them, they take that as rejection. But they don't understand the situation that the parents might be in at the moment. They take it personally that there's something wrong with them, that they're being rejected because they're not worthy. And that gets stored down in the subconscious mind. And so you may have multiple events where this type of rejection just builds on top of itself. And you've got a really nasty oozing wound. You know, 30 years later, somebody in traffic, somebody on the TV says something that in some way reminds you of that. And here it comes, you know, and you're lashing at them. And it really doesn't have anything to do with them. They triggered what was already inside of you. So by using this little tool of, what other people and events in my life remind me of this? When did I feel like this? And just take it back as far as you can, you know. And what'll happen is when you do, you may be able to get some insight into what was going on at the time and find a more accurate way of understanding the situation, and that'll release a lot of this toxic energy that you're carrying around that's reaping havoc in your life and in your health, and that you're projecting out onto other people. Let's see what we got here. Tina, I recently messaged someone a question. The response was an exploration of ugly hatefulness. My response was, I'm sorry for bothering you. Talk about a projection of negativity. Yeah. And, see, there you go. It was like they probably didn't even understand what they were doing, but something that you said to them probably felt like a knife being stuck in and twisted. They've got some really serious damage, if you can't get asked a simple question without going off like that, you got problems. But we all do, and that's the problem with the world. All this stuff going on is just people projecting stuff that's not even real. It's not based on anything real. It was all, very rarely um would it be a situation where, go back to the example I gave of the little kid. Very rarely would it be a situation where you're really being rejected, you know. And if you were, it's still not real, because anybody that would do that to a little kid isn't right in the head to begin with, you know. So if it was done subconsciously, then okay, they weren't aware of what they were doing. They didn't understand the damage that they were doing. But if they did understand and it was intentional, then in a way it's even worse, but it's still going back to their problem that's being projected onto somebody else. So I'm not making excuses for inappropriate behavior, and I mean, I know we get into these topics. I talk about stuff to try to give you tools to help you heal. But don't ever think that I'm saying that spirit is weak or spineless or anything like that. Exactly the opposite. Exactly the opposite. Um, but at the same time, you know, a spiritual perspective is a higher perspective. And when you look at these things for what they are, you realize that it's a miracle. It's actually evidence of God that we do as well as we do, given what's going on, that we haven't wiped ourselves off the planet yet, you know? Um, because we're definitely troubled. It's okay though. I mean, we're getting there. We're working on it. But you know, it just you almost just have to like, wow, okay, I can't believe we do as well as we do. And it's not. I find myself thinking that a lot. Like, wow, yep. Sue says that I didn't know that my fear of rejection was so big. I became a people pleaser, and this led to a nervous breakdown in 1993. Well, there you go. There you go. That's an excellent example of how this stuff can really screw with you. So it's critical that you learn to let go, not take things so personally. Um, but again, when we take it personally, it's because inside of us we have wounds. It is personal, and that's what we need to address. It's not so much about what's going on in the world or what somebody else said or did. It's where we are damaged, and so those things trigger us and just make the wound fester. And that's what we need to work on. Each one of us has to do the inner work. Once we do and we heal those wounds, we release that toxic energy. Our health will improve, mental and physical, but we won't be attracting that stuff. And even if we happen to be somewhere where it pops off, it won't mean anything to us. We're not going to react the same way because we're not being triggered. Like, yeah, somebody's going off pretty good over there. That's unfortunate that they're feeling that way, but it doesn't. You see the difference. It's not you're not boiling over. Displaced aggression, yes. Richard, when I project out in the world, I see what is inside me. Great insight, Howard. I rarely am upset for the reason I think. Exactly. 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 And when you figure out what the real reason is, the dominoes are going to fall. Because sometimes you have multiple levels of this stuff. If you can get to the root of it, they're all going to dissipate. There's going to be multiple healings in one. And even if you can't get all the way back, go back as far as you can and at least heal that much, you know. And then maybe the next time you'll be able to go further. But it's a really awesome tool is just to turn it around and why am I getting upset about that? Why does that bother me? And if you can be honest about that, um, you'll make huge gains in your growth. Kim says being aware that other people still need to heal doesn't mean we should just overlook foul behavior. Where's the line? Well, that's it. So what you do is you just maintain the highest version of yourself that you can, and then set up some boundaries. That's what boundaries are about. If there's somebody that's just so unreasonable, They're just going to foam at the mouth, and you can't talk to them. Then just don't have anything to do with them. You heal what you can, and you let the rest go. If it's like someone's just having a bad day and they blow their top, okay, we've all done that. But if it's this ongoing thing and it's just like they're rabid, and to the point to where there's just no, not that you're trying to force your way in, but there's just no getting through to them. You're as loving as you can be, and they're still just hateful and doing hateful things. Then I just wouldn't spend much time with them. You know, that's what boundaries are for, is to remove toxicity from our lives, because there are people that are just extremely damaged, and there's a club for them too, but it's not a pleasant club to be in. And if you're above that, then don't slum it. you know be kind to them, do what you can, but then let it go. Sometimes all you can do is just smile and wish them well. uh give them a kind word, hold the door for them, even though they're being rude or whatever. Let them cut you off. It's okay. Um, but that's all you can do. It's just not their time. All of this stuff, it happens in its own time, and you never know what somebody else is dealing with. And so, we shouldn't sit in judgment in that way. But that doesn't mean that we should condone hurtful behavior, much less participate in it. I caught you. Susan says she had to close that door a little bit ago. Yeah, it happens. Hi, Tracy. Tracy says, I tend to absorb some of that anger from others. It can get stressful. Yes. So there, I mean, somebody's, getting angry, projecting anger, and you feel your blood start to boil a little bit. Ask yourself why. What is it about? Again, is there anyone else in your life from the past that made you feel that way? See if you can get back to where you may be wounded and you're just reacting in that way. Because I've noticed that once you heal this stuff, and if you're around somebody that does that again, you see it in a completely different light. It's then I start thinking along the lines of, is there anything that I can say or do that'll help that person to the next level? And I ask for guidance in that. That's really what I do. Spirit, what would you have me do or say? And I will. And then at that point I let go, and wherever the chips fall. It's not like Sue was saying, she became a people pleaser. That's you that's easy to do, especially if you're empathetic to somebody, but it's not our job to heal the world. We couldn't do it if we wanted to. It's impossible. You know, the only way that someone's going to rise in consciousness is for them to rise in consciousness. And the only way that's going to happen is that they let go of what's holding them down. You can't do that for them. All you can do is be the highest version of yourself. And that'll have more influence on the world than anything else you can do. You may not even see it in the moment that there's healing happening, but there is. And if they run into enough people that just smile at them and wish them well and are still kind to them, even though they're being obnoxious, things are going to start changing for them. It may take a while, you know, depends on how wounded they are. But that's the answer. You can only, you're only responsible for healing yourself. And then once you do, that's the vibe that you put out in the world. That's the energy that you project. And it'll help. It'll help the collective. Every time somebody awakens a little bit more, the collective consciousness gets a little bit brighter. It gets brighter for everyone. And eventually it's going to help people heal. So it's not about really healing them. It's about healing yourself. And then just because you are the way you are, you put off the vibe that you do, you say the things that you do the things that you do, it will influence them in a positive way. And the rest is just, it's going to take time. But yeah, absorbing, if you absorb their emotions, then you're also absorbing the toxic energy that goes along with it. And it's going to reap havoc on your health. Cheryl, realizing that many times it's a choice to do, I respond to this energy or listen. If we can choose no engagement with the toxic energy and establish boundaries with their toxic energy, move on. There you go. There you go. And Kathy agrees. Yeah. So that's it. It's boundary setting. That's when you use boundaries. Um, you don't let that kind of toxicity into your personal space. You treat them kindly. There's no reason not to. They're obviously damaged, they're hurting, and they're projecting pain. But that doesn't mean that you have to absorb it. And it doesn't mean that you have to participate in whatever havoc they're reaping on the world. Um, Quite the opposite, just stay centered and be the highest version, and whatever influence it has on them, it has, and let the rest go. That's all you can really do. So remember that all this stuff out there, everyone and everything, is just there to support the lessons that you need to learn. That's why they show up where and when they do. And then when they no longer serve that purpose, they can be released. And at the same time, you're going to be releasing this pent up negative energy. And then the result of that is going to be that you change your projection. And then in that way, you're helping the world or the collective, however you want to see it. So things to take out of all of this, you'll become that which you think about most. So the people and events that you attract into your life are determined by your level of consciousness. And this supports your life lessons, and it becomes your life experience. It's a result of your projection, though. And you project what you have inside outward. And this gives you a golden opportunity to heal, to deal with what you have inside that's causing your life's problems. And this is one way to understand yourself, and therefore one way to enlightenment. So your projection can provide you valuable insight if you're paying attention to your projection. All right, so I hope that was helpful and informative. Now, I did this not too long ago, but and we've done it before over the years, but every time there's people that want to do it again. And tonight I thought that it just really fit in to the discussion. So what you're going to need is 2 glasses or cups of water. So if there's any questions, go ahead and put them in the comment box. And while you guys are getting your 2 cups of water, we're going to use that for the healing circle tonight. We're going to do the water experiment. Susan says that God closes some doors for reasons and opens better ones. That's right. That's right. Don't stand there beating your head on a closed door. If it's closed for a reason. It means it's not for you. So move on. Right? That's a good point. Tracy, definitely need to re-listen to this. Thank you so much. Well, you're quite welcome. Yeah, and these, it'll be in the feed, but another thing you can do, YouTube, they're just all there. It's the only thing on the YouTube channel. But on the Facebook page, if you click on more, a drop down bar will come down, and there's one that says lives. And if you click on that, it's just all the lives. So you can go back and see, without having to scroll all through the news feed, you can go back and see previous lives. I don't know how far back it goes, at least a few years. Kim says, I'm thinking about being a tourist in New Zealand or Ireland or Scotland again. I can taste the fresh food already. Oh my God. In Scotland, it was just off the hook. Just right from the farm to the table. And almost like every restaurant was kind of like a mom and pop type of deal. But the food, everything was just fantastic. I mean, fantastic. Um, can't say enough good stuff about their food. All right. So I'm assuming that everybody's got their glasses of water. Thank you, Sue. All right, so what we're going to do, Kathy wants to go, is take the first glass of water and hold it in your hand, like so. And then what you're going to do is think or speak with full intention to the water, as if you're directing your energy into the water. Now, on the first glass, you want to focus on all things negative. Everything you dislike, speak it into the glass or think it into the glass, consciously putting what you don't like into that water. Everything you fear, put it into the water. Everything that angers you, put it into the water. Somebody did something rotten to you today, put it in the water. You don't like the election results, put it into the water. You don't like what's on the news, put it into the water. You don't like what's going on in the family, put it into the water. Whatever it is, your car broke, you got a flat, put it into the water. Just focus everything negative with full intention into that glass of water. Complain about all your frustrations. Project your darkest and ugliest thoughts into the water. I'll give you a little bit longer to do that. The darkest and ugliest thoughts into that water. Okay, now set that glass aside. Pick up the second glass and hold it in your hand. Now we're going to do the something similar with this glass. You're going to think and speak with full intention into the water, but this time all things positive. So you want to project everything that you like. You want to project everything that you love. You want to project all things that make you happy into the water. You want to give thanks for all your blessings and project that into the water. So you're going to project your brightest and most beautiful thoughts into the water. I'll give you a little bit of time to do that. Everything positive, everything you like, everything you love, everything that makes you happy, all your blessings that you're grateful for, your brightest and most beautiful thoughts into the water. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is set that one down. So here we're going to do. Pick up the first glass, the one that was negative, and take a sip of the water. And see what you notice about that. And then pick up the second glass and take a drink out of it. And see what you notice about that. Hi, Sherry. How you doing? So do you notice anything about the water? One glass versus the other one? I'm sure you do. So here's the thing. This experiment demonstrates the power of your thoughts projected into water. Now, it was very short, and probably less than a minute that we projected into each one of these glasses of water. And yet, you're probably noticing the difference. I don't see any comments coming up, but I'm sure that you noticed some differences between the first glass and the second glass. So now imagine that if, less than, Cheryl says that the one is definitely bitter. Kim says that the good thought one tastes great and the negative one tastes bitter. So bitter, the one with the negative energy projected into it is bitter, and the other one tastes good, right? So this demonstrates the power of your thoughts, the energy of your thoughts being projected into water, and for less than a minute. So now just imagine the effect that your thoughts have on your mind body throughout an entire lifetime. And by the way, your body is over half water, 60, 70% water, something like that. So Richard says, amazing. One tastes sour, the other tastes refreshing. There you go. Susan, first one bitter, second one great. Now just imagine the effect that your thoughts have on your health and on the world because of what you're projecting. I mean, less than a minute into these glasses of water and look at the difference. So just imagine how powerful the energy that you're projecting is onto the world and the influence that it has, good or bad. That choice is yours. You choose which thoughts you want to entertain. You can listen to the world, you can listen to the news, you can listen to all the naysayers, you can listen to all the negative people, you can listen to the psychosis on the world stage, or you can choose something different, and that's what you can project into the world. And again, we're over half water, so people are going to respond very in a large way to this. And if enough people were projecting these positive thoughts, it would change the world. It would definitely change the world. Cheryl says powerful. A body RO. That's funny, Kim. Sue, power in feeding negative or positive, fear or love. The one we feed grows. Great example. Thank you. Thank you. And that's it. That's it. The garden that you tend to is the one that thrives. And so if you want to project all that your brightest and most beautiful thoughts onto the world, then that's the influence you're going to have on the world. Sherry says it's a matter of your mind. Indeed. Tina, that would be a beating thing. Yes. So, or beautiful. There you go. A beautiful. That would be a beautiful thing. So I wonder what that was. Uh-oh. Which class was that? Sorry. Oh, yeah. A beautiful thing. All right, everybody. So that's the live for this week. I honor the God within you. And remember, until the next time, the only way to bring about the greater good is to be the greater good. Good night.